dogs are always on camera with us when we're recording the podcast. They're little terrors. They just want to eat each other at the wrong times. And we're like, guys, we're recording. Let's not rip each other's face off.
Always the worst timing as well, isn't it? He's been like asleep all day and now he's like, I want to do stuff.
That's always the way. It happens with those two as well. We start recording and they're like, oh, we're awake. They're contained right now. So
smart, yeah. But I'm just waiting for him to start crying. But he'll probably just curl up and fall asleep. If I'm not there, then he doesn't bother too much.
Welcome back to Able and Disabled. Today, we are going to chat with Rebecca, who is the founder of FutureTech, about what her business is and does. What made you make FutureTech?
So firstly, thanks so much for having me both. I am really excited to be part of your podcast and just to catch up as well. It's so beautiful to see you both. It's been ages. So FutureTech came about basically as a result of my experience with my younger brother, Sam, who was diagnosed as neurodivergent as a child. Sam, when he was growing up, he was coming through school a few years behind me. And I noticed that he was kind of getting like worse grades than I had gotten. And he was really underconfident and just not thriving in the school environment like I would expect that he would, because this kid is like a little genius. Like, he is insanely bright. He's incredible. The way that he thinks about things is really, really interesting. So I really didn't understand why there was this mismatch between his grades and how he was feeling about things and the reality of the situation, you know? And so then when I moved to Australia, I kind of was looking around at this problem of these young kids who are incredibly capable and bright, but the systems in which that they are forced into are not harnessing that. And I realized that here in Australia, the problem is actually a lot worse for many of these young people. So a lot of our sort of younger neurodivergent people who are super bright, super gifted, they're kind of pushed through mainstream school. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, these mainstream environments are not quite equipped for them to thrive. And so many of them are coming away from school traumatized and feeling really, really bad about themselves because they are not achieving what they perhaps could because the system's not for them. And so many of our young people are homeschooled, or they're using things like distance education because that is the only opportunity for them to really thrive in learning, because they can control their environments and do it in a way that works for them. So that's kind of where FutureTech came from. And we basically try and provide that really inclusive environment for them where they can learn about things that they're super interested in, and they can learn from mentors who are also neurodivergent. So I think that's a really, really important part of what we do, is that peer support, you know. So our mentors really understand what some of our young people are going through and can act as role models, and also impart their kind of, you know, wisdom and the strategies that they've developed over time to support themselves in the big bad world.
My turn? What are you looking forward to with your company in the future?
Oh, gosh, I think because for background, I was late diagnosed autistic and ADHD just a couple of years ago, at the ripe age of 26. And I think because of that, I actually really struggle with looking too far forward. Um, I find it hard whenever someone says to me like, "Oh, where do you want to see FutureTech in 5 years?" I'm like, I'm just trying to get through the day here, but what I would really love is I would love for FutureTech to be available to any young person who might benefit from it across all of Australia, and maybe the world one day, because it's not actually just our young people that seem to benefit from the programs that we deliver. It's also our team, which was a really nice, happy accident, that our team of neurodivergent mentors get as much from supporting our young people as our young people get from being supported by them. So I think, it's such a beautiful way of addressing many problems for neurodivergent people in Australia, things like employment, things like education, things like well-being and having good self-esteem, and all of these things kind of can be wrapped up in something like FutureTech. And so if we can reach as many people as possible, then that would be pretty incredible, I think.
Yeah.
What does your company do?
So we offer STEAM-based social and learning programs for neurodivergent young people. So what that looks like is we run learning workshops that are based on participants' interests, and that are designed and then delivered by our team of neurodivergent mentors. And our mentors are all sort of experts in their different fields of STEAM. So they are scientists, they are software engineers, they are engineers in their kind of real lives, we say, and they bring those skill sets and those passions as well to share with our young people. We also run social sessions for our young people, which is really just a way of setting up the environment with lots of different types of opportunities for our young people to connect with one another and with us in a way that looks comfortable for them. So things like gaming are really, really big at FutureTech. A lot of our young people laugh at me because I am not a gamer. I always say that I think I'm probably the only autistic person that can't play Minecraft in the world. I've tried. It's really hard. So we don't necessarily expect them to be connecting with one another in a way that might look more typical. So we don't expect that our young people will communicate via verbal communication, for example, if that's not something that feels right for them on the day. We don't necessarily expect that they will play the games in the same kind of servers, or that they will be playing together. Sometimes it's just about sitting in the same space as someone, playing games separately, but being together in that same space. And that, for a lot of neurodivergent people, is the way that we socialize.
Yeah. Me playing games with you, or just playing games when you're in the room, or what do you think? You think I have ADHD? Probably. Probably autism in there. Family has autism somewhere.
A little bit of spice and sparkle is always a good thing, I think. But yeah, it's actually called parallel play. So when you're sitting in the same space as someone but doing different things, it's a really nice way of connecting that doesn't require that constant communication,
Yeah.
And for a lot of our young people, that's enough. That is having friends and spending time with friends. But many people don't recognize that and think that that's somehow not socializing. So we really want to be able to set up a space that accepts, different ways of socializing and different ways of connecting. And yeah, it has really, really beautiful outcomes, while you may think that two participants have never maybe actually had a conversation with one another. When one of them says, oh, I'm a bit cold today, the other one will jump up straight away with their jacket and offer their jacket, to that other person. So while, to the outside world, it might look like people aren't speaking to one another, they aren't socializing with one another, that they don't necessarily care about one another, they really, really do. It just looks super different.
Yeah. Is it my turn next? It is. No, it's your turn. I said that already. What are you looking forward to with your company in the future? You asked what activities.
What activities do you do?
So lots of different activities. The learning side of things, we tend to so we'll choose a theme for a term, for example, and through that theme we'll explore how science and technology and engineering all applies. So what that looks like in practice is we may be looking at intelligence as the theme, and well, how does science apply to intelligence? Well, let's look at the brain and how the brain is structured. And actually, one of our mentors brought in a sheep's brain for the kids to have a look at, which I was like, oh, this could go so many different ways. Like, this is disgusting to me, and I don't want any part of it. But they loved it. They had a lot of fun. So looking at things like that through science, and then through technology, we were programming like things to do with artificial intelligence, for example, or machine learning. So we really want to give young people as much hands-on activities as possible, and less of the theoretical stuff, because it's really, really hard for our young people to apply theory if they don't see how it's practiced. And sometimes as well, we will run events, which I love. So we went to Taronga Zoo last year. We took a group of 15 to the zoo, which was very nerve-wracking for Beck, I have to say. It was on a Saturday, which is generally quite busy at the zoo, and I was like, oh my goodness, please don't lose anyone, because many of them just love to kind of wander off if they spot something they're interested in, like, oh. So that was a big day, but it was incredible because we were able to work with Taronga to build a bespoke keeper for a day program. And so they got the opportunity to work with some of the keepers there and go and help to kind of clear out some of the enclosures. They got to see like the seal show, and they got to go behind the scenes at the zoo. And so many of our young people have special interests that are animals. So it was an incredible opportunity. So we try and do as many events like that as we can. But, Beck does get extra gray hairs each time because it's always a little bit intense. You don't want to lose anyone. But yeah, so that kind of wraps up most of our activities. We also try and work a lot with other organizations where we can, to help support some of our young people to gain work experience as well in some of the different industries, which is really, really, really great, because we support people who are, 7 all the way through to sort of 18, 19. And for a lot of our older participants, they're sort of getting towards the end of their school careers and starting to think about work. And that can be a really scary time as well for everyone, but for our young people, it can be really, really, really nerve-wracking. So trying to kind of facilitate some of those pathways, make it as painless as possible for them, and also supporting their families as well.
Yeah. Do you want me to say the end? Or do you have another question? No?
Thank you, Beck, for sharing your passion for helping others. Comment, like, and subscribe. We'll see you all next week.
Stay pink and yellow. Stay pink and yellow. Bye.